All right, we're live. Hey, James, thanks for coming on Trigger Points. Guys, we are one day earlier this week because I think we got a national holiday coming up, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Sunday, which is also my 45th birthday.
Oh, man. You're looking good.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, but, what you been up to?
Buying, selling, wholesaling, rentals.
You do a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
right?
Do a lot of realtor stuff.
Yeah.
With EXP, got a good team there.
Yeah.
So it's multiple streams of income. That's kind of my goal
Yeah.
with real estate.
So, and I told you before we went live, we kind of go through like how you got your start. So, I mean, let's just dive right in. In real estate, how did you get your start? What were you doing before?
Yeah, so
estate?
I ran a highway maintenance company. It's my dad's company.
Uh-huh.
So I started off 15, 16 years old, started at the bottom. We did mowing, debris, sweeping, litter. So
Uh-huh.
all over the state of Texas. I lived in Austin about 9 years.
Yeah.
Doing the toll roads up there. And managed those. I mean, we'd have very large crews. And so that was kind of my thing was I ran the crews. He started me off at the bottom, made me earn my way up.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a stick on the highway, no joke, picking up litter. Picking up litter off the highway. So you're thinking, hey, these guys are the, criminals and all that. It was me.
Yeah.
I was one of the guys. But anyway, he just made me earn everything that I had, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The way he did it. But worked my way up, and I kind of got to a point where my income was capped.
Yeah.
Of what I could make. And I think a lot of people feel that way. They're in a job. There's not a huge potential there to earn. And started having kids.
Yeah.
Met my wife. And what's out there? What's more? What am I good at? What can my skills translate to? And I thought real estate's something. I'm pretty good with people, and I'm good with contractors and getting work done. And you started watching HGTV like everybody.
We actually talked about that. I think me and Brian Burke, we actually talked about the HGTV people. But
you look at, when you're making my salary in one deal, not that it's accurate, but $80,000, $90,000, and what they just did, I could do pretty easy.
Yeah.
I'm managing 30-man crews.
Yeah.
Can I manage a 3-man crew
Or a 4-man crew?
4-man crew, I mean, very easily. And that's what I made in a year. Well, what if I could do 5 of those at a time? If I could do 10 of those at a time, I can make some. The potential was limitless, and it is limitless when you take your economic future over yourself. When you leave it in somebody else's hands, it's going to be capped. They're only going to pay you so much.
Yeah.
What's nice, even with loans, right? You can go out and produce more clients. It's uncapped.
Yeah.
And that's something I think in real estate. It's unlimited on what you can do and what you can make. So that's what I did is I started having kids and family, and I needed to make more money.
Okay.
And I wanted to make my own pathway. I think that was important. Going my own direction. I could have followed that, but you look down the road, would I take that over? What's it look like? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make my own way.
Yeah.
Make my own path. And I jumped out, just did something completely different and started off like everybody else, knowing nothing. Didn't know what wholesaling was. I think I went with New Western. That was one of my first, horrible deal like they all are. New Western.
I will say this about New Western. Look, there's one person over there that I really like, and her name's Anna. If I'm dealing with her, I know that I'm going to be able to get the deal closed. But yes, New Western can be difficult to work with.
Well, it's a revolving door. A lot of the times, it's people come and go. They come and they realize how hard it is. So you get the people who come in, they just try to sell you anything to get a commission, which is fine. It's the cycle, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know what a deal was. HGTV said I'd make $80,000. It was naiveness, like we all are when we get started.
Just to stop you for a second, when I met my wife and I told her what I did, she's like, "Oh, do you have an HGTV show?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
She's like, have you been on one? I'm like, no. She's like, are you going to ever be on one? I was like, well, I can't answer that, but I'll tell you right now, no.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where they make it appear a certain way, and reality is a lot different. I think I made maybe $3,000 or $4,000, and it was on a $260,000 house.
Yeah.
So there was no money to be made. I was doomed from the beginning.
Yeah.
And anyway, but it was invaluable experience to have moving forward.
Yeah.
Because you say, hey, this is doable. Okay, what are all the steps involved? What's the process? Okay, I know the process now. And I did another one. The first couple I did, I partnered with my sister on.
Yeah. Is she still in the business?
Yeah, she is. She was a teacher.
Okay.
Full-time teacher. Didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, man, I'll split the asset, but also split the liability.
Yeah.
If I lose my shirt, we'll do it together.
Yeah.
So I went out and found the deal and then managed the deal, and we sold it, and we didn't make much money.
Yeah.
At all. But
now, did that scare you, or was that a driving factor? Say the next one I'm going to do it the right way, or
I learned. My main goal wasn't to make a lot of money or make a whole lot of money. I don't think that should be your main goal, to be honest with you, in the beginning.
Okay.
I tell that you see this all the time. I'm sure you do. People have unrealistic expectations of what they should make.
Yes.
And so
very unrealistic.
Yeah. So they're like, well, what do you mean I'm not making $60,000?
Well, sometimes the base hits are what gets you over to, those home runs or.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I always tell people is the momentum alone, the $60,000 deals, the $80,000 deals, they're going to come to the people who have built a reputation. Yeah. More than likely. Yes. They're not going to come to the guy who's thinking about doing real estate unless you get lucky.
Yeah. Relationships.
It's going to be a relationship. It'll be your own marketing. Pull that up. Something will come by reputation, by track record.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first thing I think is you got to have realistic expectations, and it shouldn't be to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
It should be to build the confidence. It should be to build the momentum.
To confidence to go do another deal, the momentum. Hey, I got one under my belt. I learned from my mistakes. Let me move on to this one, and hopefully that deal will go a little bit better. Now,
why should you know everything starting out?
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. It's impossible. It's a flawed way to think about doing anything. Is that you would know? I mean, I wore out my realtor. I went through several realtors actually.
Yeah.
Because I drove them crazy. I was asking questions.
Yeah.
Think about it. I don't know a thing.
Yeah.
I'm coming across all these new things I've never had. Title, same thing with title. I drove them crazy. I'd write, if you ever look at Eddie Gann or anybody, I'll have a list of questions and I sit in the front row every time.
Yeah.
And I ask them. I'll ask them and ask them and ask them because I'm doing so many deals. I come across a lot of questions and I want to know. And so you'll drive, you got people like that. They're like, this guy's asking 20 questions. But I think that's an important thing to be curious.
Well, I mean, every new client that I always talk to, every single one of them, I'll say, hey, look, I'm going to send you some videos because I could sit here and talk to you for hours. I've got 20 or 30 other things I got to do today. I'm going to send you some videos with some of our content. What I want you to do is write down any questions you got and then call me back. If you'll call me back with those questions, I can boom, 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 answer them all at once. You know how many people do that?
Probably the ones that are successful do.
I would say less than 1%, because nobody wants to put the time in to say, hey, I'm going to do my own homework. I'm going to ask questions about, hey, I don't understand how this works. Can you please explain it? Now, the ones that do usually go on to do a deal within a couple of months or a couple of weeks. I don't understand why more people, in school, if you walk into a test and never prepare for it,
you're risking hundreds of thousands of dollars too. You're risking your credit, your reputation. So my approach to that was, I want to know everything. Yeah. There is nothing I don't want to know. And I know there's things that I will learn, by doing. So that's my approach. I think the philosophy you have to have going into it, I think, is growth.
Yeah.
Growth in your mindset, growth in your knowledge. And it's not to make $1 million. That comes because you've earned that mindset through the deal flow.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. But yeah, that was my goal. I did one deal, and then I did 2 deals. I did 3 deals, and I realized I can't make it on doing 1 deal at a time.
Yeah.
That's what I realized.
So you were picking up trash on the highway. You said, enough of this. I'm
Well, I moved up. That was kind of when I first started. I was managing crews.
Yeah.
And
started managing crews, and you're like, okay, I've capped out. I can't make any more money. I want to get myself to financial freedom, right?
Yes.
So you said the easiest way to do this is, what triggered you?
Well, I looked into what I thought my skills would translate into. You're not going to do well if you don't have the skill set to do well in that field.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good with people, and I'm a learner. So I can manage these crews. I'd never heard of private money or anything like that. So or hard money. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. I never heard of it. But I just said, hey, what do I think I can do well in?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we've got to do, is figure out where our skills are translated best into. And I thought real estate's something that they translated well into.
Okay.
That's how I got started. And that was more what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And the glamour of, huge checks and, all that.
That is glamour. So I will tell you a little bit about my start. I don't know if you know how I got started. I was retiring from the Army, and Johnny's my brother-in-law. I don't know if you knew that or not. He was like, hey, come down here to Houston. We'll get you involved in real estate. And I'm like, I don't know the first fucking thing about real estate. And I questioned him probably 30 times in the year that I was up to my retirement. I was like, well, what am I going to be doing? What's your plan? Blah, blah, blah. What we had initially set out for did not work. So, you're going to have failures. As soon as I got here, I went and got my real estate license, and, started to grow a knowledge about, this is how real estate works, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, I think you should go cut your teeth on a real estate team for a little bit. That way you can understand transactions and how they work and blah, blah, blah. I think I did, 4 or 5, maybe 6 transactions within that 9 months that I was there. And I didn't like it. I did not like being on a real estate team.
You doing buyers or listings?
I was doing buyers.
Okay.
And I was fresh out of the Army. I had one client that literally went from one house to 11 houses all in one day. And I was just like, okay, just keep your patience, and then we ended up going back to the first house that we looked at and made an offer on it. And it went under contract. I knew right then and there, this is not what I wanted to do. I was like, this is not what I want to do. I called Johnny. I was like, look, this is not working. I think I'm just going to pack up, go back up to Northeast Texas and just live the simple life. I have a bunch of friends up in Northeast Texas, and I could have lived off my retirement and just been happy. So I owe a lot to Johnny because of the fact that he's like, no, hang in there. We'll get you there. Just hang in there a little bit longer. Hang in there a little bit longer. And then finally he called me Thanksgiving. I was headed to Mississippi to visit my parents for Thanksgiving. And he called me and he said, we want to offer you a job here at Jet Landing. I was like, no, I don't want it. I was like, no. He's like, well, don't say no right off. He's like, go home, talk to Robert, which was my dad. And he said, talk to Robert and see what he says. And then let me know on Monday. Well, I went home and I told my dad, I was like, hey, Johnny's offering this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, boy, you better take that damn job. Anyway, long story short, I called Johnny the very next day and said, all right, I'll take it. But, these are some conditions that I would like. I don't want to be treated like anybody differently. He's like, okay. He's like, if you don't want to be treated any differently, I'm not going to treat you any different. I was like, nope. I don't want anybody to say, hey, you got your start because of, Johnny. I want to start bottom of the barrel. Anyways, so I did. I came in here and started bottom of the barrel. And at first it was like, hey, it's just going to supplement income,
As a realtor?
As I've got retirement coming in from the Army.
Yeah.
So it was just going to supplement income to, me to be able to go do fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, Johnny was right. You get addicted to it.
Oh, yeah.
You get it. It's just like now I can't see my life doing anything else different. And it's crazy how that happens.
Well, it's a hunt, man. So these deals, you're chasing down clients, you're helping them, you're starting to see their progress. There's a lot of rewarding fulfillment in that.
Oh, it is, especially when you get those phone calls. Say, I got a client. Her name's Heather. She works with Ehab on his. Ehab, right? I think you've met him. He has a mentorship program, and she called me with like tears in her eyes almost. I could hear the emotion over the phone. I was like, you know what? You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad that you're happy. And that, you and your husband are now on your way to, I mean, they hit a home run their first deal. It's going to be, it's when they get done with the rehab, they'll be able to keep it long-term, hold it as an Airbnb, and hopefully, make a killing off of it. So
beautiful.
Yeah, those are the rewarding factors that you really like to hear.
Well, I love real estate in that it can be a win-win. You can make, commission. Jet Lending can do very well. They can do very well. The realtors make money. The contractors make money. Everybody. It's real interesting, real estate versus a stock or something. You buy a stock and, who's benefiting from that?
Yeah.
It's.
I don't think anybody's really benefiting because it's not real. I mean, it's like all digital, and I'm like this. I like to touch, taste, feel what I'm investing in, or what I don't know. And stocks are not tangible to me. It's just it's a piece of paper that's not even real. What was it? The Wolf of Wall Street when what's his name? Is it Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah.
It's not real. It's fugazi.
Yeah.
That's that part was.
What was it? Take the money from your client and deposit it in your account.
Yeah.
And that's your mission and as a broker.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it from your perspective. If you do that, you won't get that client back.
No. You've got. I mean, and I think the best thing about my job is, and working with Jet Lending. I mean, you've been around us enough that we try to help the client throughout the entire process. Hey, if you've got questions about, contractors, if something's not going right, we always try to tell our clients, hey, call us, get us involved. I mean, Eddie's got a wealth of knowledge. We just walk in his office and just say, hey, what do you think about this situation? Well, this is what I would do. And just go back to the client and tell them, hey, this is what you should do. I mean, this is what's worked for, Eddie, and this should work for you. So your first deal, you said you made about $3,000 off of it, right? Mm-hmm. Second deal, third deal. I mean, what did it?
Second deal, not a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Now the third deal, partnered with my sister, we made $60,000.
Okay.
And we split it 30-30.
Okay.
And that was a good lick.
Yeah.
That's the first time I'd really made anything. And, realized, man, hey, it's possible. That's what you get, just like you, right? You stayed long enough. Johnny was, hey, it's possible. Stay in there. See, that faith has got to be high enough there that you're not just, hey, this. So I was, a lot of people have to be in it just long enough to get that addiction, get that obsession.
Once you get it, once it bites you, it takes hold of you. It's like, okay, I can't do anything else now.
And I think that's the thing you've got to catch? How do I teach you and help you get to that point? I mean, that's tough. But, you know, a lot of it's just, you kind of got to borrow some of my confidence.
Yeah.
Borrow from me. You know, I've hundreds of deals I've done. So borrow a little from me and let you get started, let you catch it. I think that's a key thing.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I mean, Johnny, Eddie, they both sat down. I mean, there was tough times here at Jet Lending too. You know, once you catch a little bit and have a little bit of success, you're like, and then you go back down. Yeah. You're like, okay, that sucks. You know, I've got a little bit of success, and you start tasting it, and then you kind of go back a couple of spots. You're like, no, I want to keep going forward. And that's hard for a lot of people to realize. And
so does that have to do with keeping your pedal on the gas?
Yeah.
What does that have to do?
Well, I mean, it has to do with, and Eddie will tell you this, and I've adapted this as well, making little adjustments along the way will increase your production. He uses it as in a golf metaphor, but you just make little bitty tweaks every month or every day. Like, you know, hey, I'm going to do this instead of this. You know, okay, I lost this deal. I'll analyze, okay, what could I have done different now compared to back then? I just moved on. You know, what could I have done different? What could I have said different? You know, why did I lose this, you know, to another company or whatever? And I'll make those little adjustments, and each month it's like paid off. You've got to take your, I don't know, your trade or whatever you do in real estate and say, okay, this is what I believe is that, hey, one, analyze what you did wrong. I'll always call the client, hey, what could I have done or what can I do to get your business back here? What did I do wrong? Well, you didn't really do anything wrong, but, you know, you kind of approached it as, you know, this is where your values are. Well, Alex was really good, and I have adopted that now. Hey, these are what we see your values are at now. Are you willing to order an appraisal, and maybe we get to, you know, see where your values are at? This is the data.
You have a value of the property. They have a value. Is that the idea? They're probably higher because they want more money.
Of course. Come on, don't get me started on that. Everybody's higher because they want more money. Look, the data and we just try to present it as facts. And a lot of times clients want the max loan, which we want you to go to a closing seat. We don't want you to sit back and say, okay, I'm going to go with this other company because they're lending more money. Well, they'll tell you they're lending more money up front because they don't do an initial evaluation. No, I do not know any other company out there that does an initial evaluation. Do you?
You're talking about go over the ARV and everything? Yeah. No.
I know Jet because I work here, but I know we sit down and we'll send you our comp package each time. There's no other they're just putting it down on a piece of paper, say, hey, this is what your numbers look like. And then they order an appraisal, and then at the end of it, they're like, oh, well, the appraisal didn't come in where we thought it. And they try to sell it like this. We want you to know what your risk is going into the deal.
Sure.
So
is that pretty solid?
Every deal.
Yeah. So when you up front, when you tell them, that's about what it'll be.
Yeah. I mean, within 5 to 10,000, within 10% of the,
you probably know how your appraiser thinks. Because that's where I would say appraisals can be all over the board. You know, I had one that was 20,000 lower, and then I paid for another appraisal, and it met appraisal.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's again,
now that was on an in retail buyer.
Yeah. Now again, appraisals, you got to look at it like this. We're not so confident on appraisals as we are on values of what the data is telling us.
Sure.
Now, the reason why you want an appraisal is because that appraiser may point out things that we didn't know. Like, hey, that school district, you're in the same neighborhood, but there's a split right down the middle of that neighborhood. One school district is better than the other, and people want to be on that side.
I had a house one time in Missouri City that backed up to a train,
mm-hmm.
and it had a big wall. There was no, I didn't know. I hadn't done a whole lot over there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it. I didn't know. And it was a big old wall, and every time I was out there, the train wasn't there.
Yeah.
So everything backed up to that railroad, you can imagine, sold for a discount. So
Of
I was
course.
getting a smoking deal.
Yeah, at least you thought you were.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly.
But
So,
you're actually getting what the market value was because that train came by and
yeah, that was the only deal that I've really lost. I lost about 15,000 on it. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but most everything I've done is in areas that I've really set the comps. It's pretty simple. You know, I do.
Yeah.
I'm down south, so I know them very well.
Yeah.
That one I didn't.
Yeah.
And that'd probably save me on that. Having somebody look at that and tell me, hey, I would have done the deal.
Yeah. There's I want to get back a little bit on track on your progression if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, you did 4 or 5 deals. I mean, what kept you moving forward? Like, you just put your hands in everything, or what?
Well, I mean, what avenues could you make this kind of money if you got really good at it?
Yeah.
Now, what's a CEO make or a CFO? 400,000. I mean, what do they say the top 10% makes a year? 300,000, 400,000, or something like that.
Something like that.
That's very doable in real estate.
It is
very, very doable.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me if I get really good at this, I could be a top 1% income earner, top 10% income earner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kept my mind on.
Yeah.
How do I become good enough at this so that I can get into that? And it's doable. Not to mention the freedom. We're pretty free to do what we want.
Yeah.
You know, when you're flipping, you have your contractors out. You know, if you do it right, and you build a system and you build your teams out, you can do that kind of thing.
That is true. I honestly did not know how much money you could really make in real estate until, you know, some things happened here at Jet Lending that kind of propelled me forward. And I was just
that other people's deals and seeing what they made.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was just like, okay, well, you know, how do I get to that point? You know? And I will tell you, I have plagiarized the hell out of watching what other people do.
Sure.
And go, okay, I'm going to adapt that. I'm going to adopt that. I didn't like the way they did that, but I'm going to adopt a way of the way they did that. The way you talk to clients, the way you treat clients, the way you have the rapport with them. A lot of my clients will tell you that I treat them like family. I want them to be able to know that they can call me 24/7. Now, does that take a lot of time away from family, friends, whatever? Yes, but you have to manage that as well. Like, hey, there's a certain cutoff time that I will not answer the phone at night, you know, especially when you have a baby. I mean, we just had a baby.
Yeah,
so
congratulations. Yeah.
She's 1.5 years now. So, I mean, there's certain things now that prior to having her, that I was just like, you know, okay, I've got to make some adjustments because this is going to affect long term.
That was probably one of the biggest issues I had was when you're doing, you go from 1 deal to 2 deals to 5 deals at a time to 10 deals at a time to 15. That's typically where I'm at is 13, 14, 15 flips going on at one time. That's a lot of time. It's pretty much all day, every day.
Yeah. And you have to
that's a very difficult thing.
Managing your time is probably one of the biggest things that I'm having to learn now versus just, you know, foot on the gas pedal and don't let off. I personally, I have had to take the foot off the gas a little bit, just so that I can spend time with, you know, family. Because I mean, my wife's like, hey, look, I know you've got to, you know, you're doing great for us. We love you and everything, and you're doing awesome, but we need some time.
Sure.
So tomorrow we are actually headed to Destin.
Oh, nice.
So we're gonna go to Destin for a week and spend some time.
That's beautiful.
You ever been?
Yeah, I've been several times.
Yeah, I love it there.
My family's from Florida.
Yeah,
Pensacola, Alabama, right in that little line right there.
It's
beautiful. Y'all have a good time.
It's so much fun. I have not taken my family any vacation because, you know, we got married the first year, you know, getting into a new house and, getting that all settled. And then the second year we got pregnant. And now the third year going into the fourth, everybody's, kind of normal right now.
Yeah.
And the baby's old enough to go. So I was like, hey,
get in the water.
We're going.
Be good.
So
well, it's the balance of it all is very important, I think. But it takes a lot of work too to get to the point you're at.
Yeah. So if you're a new investor, and I'll just ask you, what failures have you had through the progression that you would watch out for?
I'd say contractors, picking the right contractors. That's
building
huge.
your team.
Yeah, building a really good team, keeping them busy. When you always talk about, I think there's a certain point where doing 2 or 3 or 4 at one time is actually easier than doing one at a time.
Because you can shift them.
Yeah. The loyalty from your contractors comes from the volume.
Mm-hmm.
So the more volume you do, the easier it is with contractors. Contractors are what will make or break you. You get some bad contractors in there, you can find the money. Deals are hard to find, but they're there. You find the deals, you find the money, but that contractor will take you under. So having a team that you trust, they trust you, you're keeping each other going. They know that, hey, James, his time spent finding deals.
Mm-hmm.
That's where his time's got to be there because that's our next job. And they know that. So they're taking care of your backside. You're keeping them on to the next job. And I think it's probably not spending enough time looking for the next one. I think that's probably where most people get in trouble is they make a good chunk of money and they sit back and they, as opposed to having that spigot turned on all the time, flowing, continue that marketing going and going and going, they turn it off. They do their deal. They do their one deal.
They made a little bit of money.
Then what do? They turn it back on. But you think you're going to find a deal immediately?
No.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
In this environment, it's too hard to turn it on and turn it off.
You've got to keep a steady flow, like your foot on the gas
all the time
at the right pressure.
Yes.
Then
it's being disciplined with your capital so that you can reinvest it back. Right? You have to have interest payments. Mm-hmm. Right? You get a good enough deal, you'll fund the whole rehab, but they're putting the money up front.
Yeah.
And then they're paying you the interest. Mm-hmm. So they've got to have liquidity. I heard Eddie Gant say that. That was one of the things I took from him. He said the 2 most important things in real estate is communication and liquidity. You ever heard him say that?
Yes.
I couldn't agree more. I'm always trying to get better at communicating, and I've been disciplined with my capital so that I can reinvest it back in the business. And that's how you're going to get to make $400,000 a year or $500,000 a year. You're going to have to do 5, 6 at a time.
Yep, that's true.
That's just, and then now if you think about, can you rotate those 5 houses 3 times a year? That's not that difficult.
No.
So, right? You say, can you take 4 months to buy a house and sell a house? Well, if your contractors are on it and you got it listed, you can do that in 4 months.
Yes.
Would you say that's fair?
What's
an average?
I would say an average here at Jet Lending is 4 to 6 months. And that's for investors that are on top of their game and they treat their business as a business and not a hobby.
Yeah.
If they're going and checking on their properties, they're making sure that their contractors are hitting those timelines, making sure that those contractors are getting in and out, and the next trade is in. And you're absolutely right. If you've got 3 deals going on and you've got your team built around, you can shift them. Like, hey, they just finished drywall over here. This one over here is ready for drywall. And so on and so forth. I think the most important thing is that when you approach this, you can't approach it as a lackadaisical attitude.
Oh, no.
You've got to approach it as, this is what I want to accomplish for this year, and write it down, whatever you got to do, and say, I want to hit. If you've hit your first deal, you say, okay, I want to hit 4 more deals this year or 5 more deals this year. And then the next year you crank it up. I want to do 7 deals this year. And you slowly progress upward to wherever you want to be. Like you're handling 15 deals at a time. that takes time to get to that point. But
Sure
you've got to. I think you personally have to progress through that.
Well, of course, yeah. And it's the knowledge acquisition. Just
Yeah.
to be that comfortable to do that many is something you do over a whole lot of deals.
Yeah.
And then it's the capital behind. You got to have a lot of money in reserves to make those notes each month when you're doing that many. So as each deal you do, you have to be disciplined. I think it's not a sexy topic, but I mean, to be disciplined and wise with your capital and your reserves so that you can then reinvest it back in your business. That's how you start making $1 million a year, $1.5 million a year.
Yeah.
Is by, you got to think, if you're doing 15 deals, 30,000 a piece, and you're rotating those every 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
There's big money in there. There's
$400,000
or 500 grand every 4 months.
Yes.
And so everybody's got a different ambition level. I'm just extremely ambitious. That's just who I am.
And it's funny because I've been watching a lot of motivational speakers. I watch a lot of military generals and stuff, how they talk and stuff like that. And there's one that I really like a lot, and I've heard this throughout my military career. Motivation is a liar. It'll lie to you, because one day you'll be motivated, the next day you're I'm not motivated.
Sure.
What you just said, discipline is of knowing that the motivation is not going to be there to get up and go do what you got to do, but the discipline is there to know that you have to do it regardless of your motivation level. If you're disciplined enough in your routine and what you're doing on a daily basis, then you'll be successful.
Yeah. I would also say, as a father, you have a 1.5-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you really need motivation?
No.
You shouldn't.
No.
You got a little baby here, depending on you.
Yeah.
And that's where I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have a wife. They depend on me. That should be all the motivation we really, if you think about it from that perspective. How fast can you take motivation and turn it into discipline?
Yeah.
That might be and you do it through love. And why did I quit and go off? It was family.
Yeah.
Family should be driving us to something more, I think.
The most important relationship is your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And making sure that, and you're absolutely right. I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, what can I do to make their lives better, make their lives easier, so they don't have to go through anything that I went through coming up. And I'm not saying I had a bad life by no means coming up, but I've been very fortunate, very lucky. I've had some really good jobs in the Army, and I've had some really bad jobs. I learned a whole lot about staying on track, discipline through that, but they are my motivation every day. And I'm sure yours is as well.
Well, I'm actually amazed at people who can be motivated and disciplined without that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't say was I the same before and after? No. Yeah. I don't know that you were.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. So I'm very impressed by people when you see that's a deeper thing, but who's motivated just by pure motivation and discipline,
or who's motivated by the fact that they want to make better for the family.
Yeah. Well, that's easier in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, no, it is. Yeah. It is.
Versus the guy that just wants to make a bunch of money. The guy that makes it they usually run through their money.
Yeah.
They want the cars and the this and the that. And it's, to really explode the business, it takes, like Eddie Gann said, the ability to communicate and you have to have capital. You have to have liquidity. So it's putting it back, as opposed to getting the big house and the big car and the big boat and this and that. And for your clients to do 3 or 4 or 5, 6 at a time, I think that's what they have to do. They've got to reinvest it back. They have to have a why on why they're doing that.
Yeah.
And it's to get wealthy and to be financially independent.
Yeah. The financial independence is what 90% of people in real estate, I think, are in it for. And then you got the 20%, I'd say, or 80% of people. And then you got the 20% because I hate to say it, just because it's cool. It's cool to be in real estate. Yeah. If you think it's just cool to be in real estate, you're probably in the wrong industry. Go be a football player or something.
People, when I tell them that, I don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Because I see it as a business. It's not a hobby. It's just, it's black and white. It's My properties have about the same thing on every one of them. It's not I always say, you're in this one of two ways. It's you like the transformation.
Yeah.
I don't care about the transformation. I really don't. I'm in it for the money. So my job.
So you don't fall in love with the properties at all.
I fall in love with the numbers.
Exactly.
The numbers tell me what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
So it's the same granite, the same flooring, same paint. It's the same process over and over.
If y'all are watching this, y'all need to listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Same everything.
Yeah.
Same color scheme.
Same. I don't change anything. I always say, do you like the transformation? I ask people that all the time. Do you like the transformation? Oh, I love that. Okay, well, the money, are you doing this for the money or the transformation? And a lot of people will say the transformation.
Yeah.
So then you end up spending the next 4, 5, 6, 7 months on what?
Transformation. and oh Lord, yes. Look, if you're anybody watching this, I've said this numerous of times. Don't fall in love with your investment property unless you are moving into that property and you're doing it on your own. Which, hey, more power to you. Then you can fall in love with it. Go buy your own house and make the transformation.
That's what I did. I live on the water. Mm-hmm. I'm in a dream home. It took me about 2 years to get it.
Yeah.
You mind if I go into that?
No, yeah, go ahead.
It's got to worth. So what I've traded up 3 times.
Yes.
And I found a house in a neighborhood. Everything's worth $2, $3, $4 million.
Yeah.
And I picked it up for $670,000.
Okay.
This is a multi-million-dollar house. The house had been vacant for a couple of years. I knew it, and I drove by it. This is like a dream building neighborhood, right? Yeah. You ever go in those? Yes. You're just like, oh my God, this is. If I ever could do it, this is dream. Dream building.
There's a neighborhood, and I'm not interrupting, but there's a neighborhood that's literally right across the street on 99 over by where I live, and I've driven through it 100 times.
So I did the same thing. I picked out one house in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I skip traced them. I sent them a letter. I said, look, I'm an investor. This is my dream home. You have my dream home. I'm going. They bought this house cash. I didn't know this, but they bought it cash. Very wealthy people that live here. They were going to move in it at some point.
Yeah.
But they never did.
Okay.
They had homes all over the place. Well, I said, hey, this is where I'm going to raise my kids. I turned it real emotional.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to raise my family. This is my forever home.
Mm-hmm.
You will have no realtor cost. We're going to close this quick. Same thing, but this was an emotional pitch.
Yeah.
Not a logical, like I'm an investor, I'm a local investor in the area, I want to buy the house, blah, blah, blah. No, this was, I'm going to raise my family here. I have a little 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. This is our forever home.
Yeah.
And he called me and said, look, this is what's going on. I'm not selling it. I'm not interested in selling it. So what I do, I kept sending letters.
One after another, huh?
Every 2 to 3 months, I added them on Facebook. I sent them messages on Facebook. Hey, I know you said you weren't interested. I'm still interested.
Yeah.
Just think of me. If anything ever happens, and I use a lot of persistence in how I've done well in this. It's not the most sexy thing, but pure persistence and focus. And so I kept trying and trying. I'm talking about, when I say emotional, man, we're talking, what more is emotional than, hey, this is my forever home. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to redo everything in it the way this is going to be a beautiful home. This is where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. This is not a in and out flip thing. This is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is something I want, and I will never move. This is my dream home in my dream neighborhood. Well, after this whole period, right, it's kind of crazy. I bought a house that had flooded during Harvey on the water. Beautiful home. Bought it, fixed it all up. Took me about 6 months to get, and I did everything. Beautiful home, right? I finally finished the house, and I get a call from him.
Hey, we're ready to sell.
What he told me, he calls me. He says, James, you've been trying to buy this house. I'm moving to California. I'm going to build a brand new house in California, San Diego, and I'm going to sell.
That's odd that somebody's leaving Texas going to
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's what he called me. He built skyscrapers.
Uh-huh.
This was like a big time guy, built skyscrapers. And I'm moving. Do you want it? You've been trying this whole time. I've decided I'm going to sell it. And if you want it, it's yours. That took me 2 years to do that. And I had just finished a beautiful home on the water.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what? I got to talk to my wife. So I got off the phone. I talked to my wife. I said, the home that I've been trying this whole time.
Now you had just moved into this.
I moved in. Yes, I just moved in after 6 months rehab.
Yeah. Not in the same neighborhood.
Not in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
A different one.
Ooh, and that's a tough conversation.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
But this was a once in a lifetime type thing, right? So you got that call in that dream neighborhood. You got your new home, and you're getting it at 50 cents on the dollar in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, and you've been trying for years to get it. That's a tough. That's a tough call.
That is a tough call, especially you just finished the rehab on that, and now you got to uproot your family again.
That's right.
And move. So and
I lived in that rehab, by the way.
Okay.
We lived in the house while we did the rehab.
Okay. So you lived in that house.
Yes.
It took you 2 years to do the other one.
Of trying, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
yes.
And now you've gotten the call. How'd that conversation go?
I said, the house that we've been wanting to get,
Mm-hmm.
he just called me. She's in shock.
Yeah.
The guy was like, I'm not selling. I'm never selling.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know that. That seller doesn't know that. The goal is to be on their mind. That's the key. On their mind.
Out in front of them all the time.
By making and I knew that by a real emotional letter, I would at least be on his mind. So that if ever came up, he'd at least call me.
Mm-hmm. And it worked. So you're in the house, and your wife said, I guess she said yes. I'm sure she
said yes. Yep. She said, hey, this is a once in a lifetime type situation to buy something that cheap in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. I'm on an acre on the water, a 5,000 square foot, 1 story.
Uh-huh.
It's a beautiful, beautiful home. The best neighborhood there really is in that whole area.
Yeah.
It took me. That's how I got it.
So you bought it. Did you?
I rehabbed it all. I moved from doing everything to this house to moving into another rehab and doing it all again.
I bet that was.
You want to talk about delayed gratification?
Yeah, that's
because we had our home, the other home on the water. It was a half acre on the water. Beautiful home. Ain't a thing wrong with that home.
Mm-hmm.
Made $160,000 on it.
So after you sold it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had crazy equity in it. And then bought this one, which I probably have $500,000-$600,000 in equity.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but I'm not going to sell it.
No, this is it.
Yeah, this is it. That's something in real estate to think about is trading up to where you want to be. Real estate can give you that. If you're in real estate, you should be living where you want to live.
Yeah.
It might take some persistence, might take some focus. Part of all that is knowing where you want to be.
Yeah.
Isn't that? I mean, if I say I want to be there, I'm going to manifest this.
I'm going to make it happen.
I'm going to make it happen. Now, what do I got to do?
Yeah.
Well, I got to decide where I'm going to be. Then I got to stay on it until it happens.
I will tell you this, and my wife and I, we could have done anything. She wanted to stay in a neighborhood, so the kids growing up, they've got that neighborhood experience. I am the exact opposite. Like we live in a cul-de-sac, beautiful home, Lennar. It's beautiful. We've done a lot of things to it to get it up to my standards of, adding things. We just got finished doing a home gym in it, so she have a place to go work out. We've done modifications after modifications, put a pool in, but we're done, now. Is this my forever home? No, it's not. It is not my forever home. Like if
you want to be with some land,
I want to be exactly same situation. I want to have on 3 or 4 acres, a nice house, 1 story. I don't want a 2-story. I'm never going to buy a 2-story.
Mine was the only 1 story in the whole neighborhood.
Yeah. I want a 1-story that is out on some land, and in the back, I want a shop to where I can put everything I've got, 4-wheelers, my camper, my trucks, everything I got, I can put in one location, and I don't have to pay storage ever again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say that is probably one of the most powerful stories I've heard yet. Persistence and getting what you want.
Focus. Yeah.
Focus and persistence. Like, hey, I'm not going to give up on this dream.
Well, that's in real estate. I've bought houses that are 1.5 years. I've been working on them. I think it's not when you're ready.
Yeah.
You're ready every day
Yeah.
to buy, aren't you? Hey, you want to make 60 grand?
Hell yeah.
Okay. You want to make it tomorrow?
Yes.
You want to make it at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay. What about 5 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay. So every day you're ready,
Yeah.
but the seller's not.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
So who can be focused long enough and persistent long enough to get the things they want, and not on your time?
You've got to be disciplined enough to be that persistent. Yeah.
That's where it comes down to. So, and it's never on your time. Why should it be on your time? That's all. It's kind of foolish to think everything should happen when you want it to happen.
It's not.
It does nothing. Does life work? I mean, nothing happens that way.
The older, and how old are you?
34.
So 34. But the older you get, I'm Sunday, I'll be 45. And you'll experience this. And I'm not saying I'm wiser or anything than you, but the older you get, the more patient you get.
Well, you have to be.
Because you understand that everything ain't going to happen overnight. Just like my wife, we're gonna stay in this neighborhood probably another 5-10 years, and get it to a certain point that it makes sense for us to make that leap. My goal is the next house we pay for, it's all cash.
It's beautiful.
All cash. Like I don't want another house note. I don't want anything. But that next house is going to be perfect. Like when we move in it, it's everything.
When I bought it, so I paid $670 for it.
Mm-hmm.
I put down $500,000.
Yeah.
Cash.
Ooh, that's a lot of money. Yeah.
500 grand, and then I did the remodels.
Which was probably what, 120,
about 180,000.
180,000. Okay. Question as far as finding deals. How do you find your deals?
Well, there's a lot of different ways I do it. The volume that I'm doing, I do text blasting, and I'll do a lot of bandit signs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm real big on that. The majority of deals that I get come from really mentoring people.
Mm-hmm.
I try to meet one new person every day. So before I came here, I actually was at a little restaurant around the corner.
Yeah.
I had a little lunch or coffee with I'd never sat down with them before.
Okay.
So every day I try to meet somebody new. And I've been doing that since I started this. And here's the logic behind that. I realized early on that if I knew 10 people in real estate versus 100 versus 1,000, if I knew 1,000 people in real estate, I'd be way better off.
Yes, that is 100%.
And had relationship, not just some weak bond. Like we actually had a good working relationship, and you trusted me and I trusted you. So the more people you know, the better off you are.
Yeah.
That's just kind of that's 1,000 people that might bring you a deal. You're talking realtors and wholesalers
versus
and
10 people.
Versus 10 people. So the more people I know, the better off I am. I realized that early on. So since the very beginning, I've been doing this about 4 years. I've been doing it that long.
No, it's been longer now.
No, I hadn't. I started in 2017.
Really?
The end of 2016. Yeah.
I've been here since December of 2016. I guess we started.
That's about the time I started was right then.
Well, yeah.
And I did. You got to think when I first started, I started with one deal, so I didn't really build any momentum and didn't even know what I was doing.
Interesting. I wouldn't have known that.
No.
I would not have known that because I remember meeting you at the Super Investor meeting, and we hit it off just talking, blah blah blah, and and I would have never known. I thought you had been doing this forever.
No, I've been doing it. No, I managed my dad's business till I was about 30, 29, 39,
Okay.
34.
And here in 4 years, you have skyrocketed because you're doing you're doing a little bit of lending, you're doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, multiple streams, but like I said, I can tell you the biggest reason of all that. Like I said, I do my marketing, it pulls deals, but there's no question that the majority that I get's from a very large network and strong relationship. What good is it to just be acquaintances? I mean, you have to develop relationships with people.
Exactly.
And the stronger and the deeper relationship. I was a guest speaker at one of the events in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
There might be 300 people there or something. And there was a panel, and the guy goes, hey, if you get a good deal, there's, you could blast it out to anybody in this room and you would all buy it. I grabbed the microphone. I said, you know what? And who are they going to pick? It's got to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You could choose 200 people, 300 people would buy your deal, but why do they choose you? You got to separate yourself
from everybody. And
how do you do that? Well, it's a deeper thing there.
It's and that's why I kind of take the same approach of treating my clients like family. They all, not all of them, some of the new ones don't buy into it because they think that I'm, that I'm full of crap. But I will tell you this: once you get to know me, and once we sit down, and once you get to your first deal, I'm always available to them. Always. I pride myself on that. And I try to. That's the whole reason I started this podcast, so people could, I could bring people on, and that way there's a way for them to see how different people got their start and different people are successful. Tell my story a little bit more. That way people could watch and say, you know what, I want to do business with him.
What do they say? People do business with people they know, they like, and they trust.
Yes.
That's all you're doing here is developing. And the more you like me, the more you know me,
the more you trust me.
You'll do business with me.
And that's more important. And you've got to build the relationships. And we talk about this every week. You've got to build them with a strong foundation. I've made mistakes with clients, but they will always come back and say, you know what? I tried this other lender. It didn't work out. I like the way you do business. I like the way that you're always available. I like the way that you're always, accessible and will tell me things that I don't even like. The hardest thing for any investor when they bring you a deal is to hear the word no. And they will bring us a deal and we'll say, this is not a great deal for you. And this is the reasons why. It's not because we're trying to kill your deal or anybody. If anybody tells you no that it has a lot of experience or tells you you might want to look at this and you can disagree with this, you might want to listen to them.
Well, heck yeah. That's wisdom speaking.
And no time. I will tell you this. It does not pay me any money for me to sit on the phone and say, I don't see those numbers.
Yep.
For me personally, I want to tell you exactly what every other lender tells you and say, oh, yeah, we can do this deal. Order the appraisal and get it back, and then I'll fight it on the back end. Of like, hey, you already ordered an appraisal. What do you want to do now?
Or you put them in a situation where they work 6 months and make nothing.
Exactly.
You're going to make your money.
Yeah.
You got a first lien. You're getting paid off.
I'm going to get paid off, and I'm jet lending. I'm going to make a commission. I'm going to get paid. So every time I sit and try to tell somebody, I just don't see these numbers. It's not about the fact that I don't want you to go close on your dream property or to get your way to financial freedom. I want you to see, hey, you may not make what you think you're going to make on this.
Exactly. Well, they say, you can skin a sheep over and over and over again, but if you butcher it, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's, the client does that. They make nothing. And there's their
first
deal. They're gone.
You're gone. And trust me, I've had clients after clients over the years that start a deal, get screwed on the deal, can't get them back into investing. I'll call them and say, hey, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, don't give up, And they're like, no, I'm done. I'm done. One deal. One and done. That's what we call.
What have you seen? What's some common things in those people that you feel like
they didn't listen? They didn't listen to one. They're a new contractor. They should have listened to our advice and maybe gone on fast track. Are you familiar?
Sure, absolutely.
Guys, we've got a great program with them, but we'll get in that at a later time. Two, they didn't treat their business like a business. Mm-hmm. They, it was like a weekend thing. Like I'll go check on it on the weekends. You can't do that. And probably number three, they didn't have enough liquidity to do the deal in the first place. And we would try to talk them out of it, and they would be like, okay, I can borrow this money from my family. And now they've run a relationship with their family member. And that I get these phone calls all the time, like, hey, Rob, I should have listened to you. I should have done this. I should have done that. I mean, we'll make suggestions, but that's all we can do.
So
is make
I know y'all said 6 months of reserves. Mm-hmm. Is that based on, but every property is going to have a different interest, payments. Is that based on the property?
It's based on the property.
So if it's a $300,000 house, you'll take the interest payments and say
times 6.
And that's how much you should have.
That's how much you should have, plus a third of the repair cost.
Okay.
That is a safe number that we feel underwriting that property. Let me tell you something, and I'm sure you'll agree with this because you've already said this. If you don't have enough liquidity to handle that property, handle it. Mean you get through the loan successfully. If you don't have that liquidity, you'll get in trouble quick. The first sign that, by the way, wife's got to have emergency surgery. Life happens, and you're like, oh shit, I've committed this money to Jet Lenny. Now I've got to take this money because family's more important than a piece of property. I've got to take this money and I've got to shift it over here. Now I'm going to fall behind because I can't pay my contractors and I can't get the repairs going. Now we help a lot of clients get through stuff, but that's why you should know going into a deal, I've got enough liquidity to handle this. That's the whole reason for reserves. I see Facebook post after Facebook post after Facebook post looking for a lender that doesn't have reserve requirements. Looking for a lender that won't order an appraisal. Why wouldn't you want to know what the values are based upon an appraisal? Now, does that mean that appraiser? We've already spoken about.
They're probably the 20%. It's cool to do.
It's cool to do. Like, why? Look, guys. Why would you want to go with a lender that's not ordering an appraisal to protect you? That's my question. Would you? Do you order appraisals on all your deals?
No.
Okay.
No. Talking about my personal deals. But like I said, most of the deals I do within areas that I know I set the comps.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going in these, I'm fixing them up.
And you're selling them, so you know what
I know. I mean, they're literally my comps.
But that comes with the experience.
I've done hundreds of these deals. I mean, it's and I literally set the comps. When I say that, I mean, it's not when you
created the market.
I'm telling you, I'm creating the market in some of these areas. I'm doing so. I mean, I have 4 houses within. I've got 2. An area in LaPorte. I've got 2 houses on 4th Street and 2 houses on 6th Street, right next to each other. 4 houses within a little bitty.
Polygon.
Yeah, 4. So I mean, when you look at that whole area, I will have made the newest.
James Toler.
I don't list them anymore. I used to do that, but my time's better spent finding them. So that's
okay.
And you think
have
about
a listing agent on your team.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing is if you're running it like a business, you have to go in deciding where you need to spend your time.
Okay.
That to me is the key. You talk about a new person, figuring that out as fast as possible. That's where having a mentor, someone like Jet Lending that can, hey, this is where your time should
or somebody
spent.
like you.
Well, I mean, I've helped a lot of people. It's just how do you allocate your time that will give you the best results? Yeah. That's the key right there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it stems from what Eddie said. It's constantly developing your communication abilities, being really good at that. and then stacking cash, being disciplined with your money.
Yeah.
That's the best two things I think you could ever give somebody.
All right. So it's been an hour. What would you say to any new investor ending this? What would you lead them with?
I'd say there's one of my favorite thoughts says personal income rarely exceeds personal development.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite thoughts. Everybody wants to make more money. If I go around, ask everybody, they'll say, I'd love to be making 2X, 5X, 10X, whatever my income is.
Yeah.
Everybody will tell you yes. But how do you get there? Realistically, how do you 2X, 5X, 10X, 100X your income? It's going to come from the development, personal development. It'll come from the development of your mindset, from your integrity. You might not, there are certain things in business that you don't have, you will not be successful. So when you say personal development, we're talking about your work ethic, your motivation, your integrity, your knowledge, the ability to be able to teach people, teaching your team, your leadership. We're talking about your persistence, your faith. My faith is very high because I've developed it. When you're talking about a new person, how do you get a new person going? You build their faith so that they believe they can do. That's what Johnny did for you.
Yeah.
Stay in there. Stay. You can do this. You can do this. It can happen. Well, your faith would get low. When your faith is low, that's when you quit.
Yeah.
That is why you quit.
That's the truth.
You have your faith is too. So
that's the truth.
You're teeter-totting. I take a lot of these people that I train over to my house. I tell them that story. They see the $3 million.
Visualize.
Hey, if they don't see me, they'll see me in my Tesla. They'll see it's possible. That's the key right there. It's possible.
Thank you. I love her. She's awesome. She is awesome. Guys, James, you don't know how much I appreciate you taking time. I know it's Thursday and most people have a busy schedule. I really appreciate you coming on the show. You've been great, a lot of knowledge. If you ever want to, James, talk one-on-one, I'm sure he'd be willing to meet with you guys. How can they get a hold of you?
Facebook, probably the easiest way.
Facebook,
just James Toler.
James
R. Toler.
Yeah. He's one of my friends on Facebook. Guys, reach out to him. Next week we will have Johnny Hayes. We're going to be in Destin together, so we're going to do a podcast on how to relax and what we do during our downtime. And I think he's the best person. He is the perfect person to tell his story about a downtime. Mississippi State won the college World
Eddie
Series.
Gant was. I saw.
He was there.
Yeah.
He said he got on a flight at 6:00 this morning to be here today. And Eddie Gant was at the College World Series yesterday, and he's at work today.
Wow.
Because he's passionate about what he does.
Is that motivation or is that discipline?
I think that's discipline.
I do too.
I don't think it's motivation because he ain't motivated right now. I walked in his office a few minutes ago. He's like, I'm dragging ass today. I'm like, all right, well, we got to sit down and talk about a couple of files. He's like, can we talk tomorrow? I'm like, no, we got to talk today. He's like, okay. But anyways, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, next week we will be back at Friday, but we will be live in Destin, Florida with Johnny Hayes. Hope to see y'all there. Thanks everybody for the questions. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see y'all next week. We are out here.